Unit 1. Making polite requests, asking for advice, and making a suggestion. The present perfect continuous. Manners.
Do you think that manners are actually important?
Life is just so much more pleasant when you come across people who are nice to you, and it's contagious.
No.
Excuse me, miss.
Gotta go. I've got a customer. I'll call you back later. Yes, sir. Can I help you?
I sure hope so. I've been looking for a birthday present for my wife, but I've been having a hard time deciding. Anyway, she loves jewelry.
Well, how about a nice necklace? We have some very nice ones over here. Does she like gold?
Hi, I'm looking for a silver bracelet.
Excuse me, but I think I was first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
That's okay. My wife's been asking for a new necklace. Oh, this one is pretty. Can I take a closer look?
Of course. Let me get it out for you. Would you care to see a pair of earrings to go with it? Everything's on sale.
Earrings? Well, I have been wanting to get her something special.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry to bother you, but this gentleman is thinking of buying these earrings for his wife. Would you mind trying them on so he can see how they look?
No problem. Oh, these are beautiful.
Very nice. I'm sure your wife will love them. As a matter of fact, they look lovely on you.
Yes, they do. You know, I've been looking for a pair of earrings like these. I think I'll take them.
Okay.
Hey, wait a minute.
Oh, don't worry, sir. I'm sure I have another pair.
Great. Well, I think I'll take the earrings and the necklace. How much does that come to altogether?
Well, let's see. These were $90, and the necklace was $120. At 50% off, that comes to $105. And the tax, that'll be $113.40. Will that be cash or charge?
Cash.
Thank you. And would you like a gift box?
What was that?
A gift box?
Yes, please.
Here you go. And the receipt is in the bag.
Thank you.
So, ma'am, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. How about a nice gold necklace to go with those earrings?
Panel discussion.
Today's topic is manners. People are complaining that people just aren't as polite as they used to be. Lena, what do you think? Are people less polite today?
Well, I find living in the city, people are incredibly rude. They run around and don't really consider that there are other people sharing this very small space with other people. I was walking down the street one day with a friend, and there were two men coming on the same sidewalk towards us. And normally when that happens, you know, since there's only room for two people to pass each other, you move out of the way for each other. And the man closest to me, as soon as we got close to each other, as I was trying to move out of the way, looked at me and said, "Would you move?" And I was blown away by how rude he was. It just never occurred to me that he would have done that. I've never encountered that before. So.
How about you, Peter? Have you any experiences like that?
I'd have to completely agree. I think just maybe the hectic pace of life these days, people don't make that a priority. And I think a big part of it is that it's not really taught in families these days. People are so busy. I mean, there's two people working in the family, and you have so many things to do. It's people don't prioritize it, and it's a shame.
Mimi, do you think this demonstrates a breakdown in social rules?
I totally agree. rules of etiquette are no longer followed, and people just aren't concerned about being proper these days. And everyone usually displays their lifestyles on TV and in newspapers everywhere. So there are no definable rules anymore, and I think that definitely is a breakdown in our social structure.
Do you think that manners are actually important?
Life is just so much more pleasant when you come across people who are nice to you, and it's contagious.
Elena, do you think that there are things you can do to influence other people's behavior?
Definitely. I personally thank bus drivers for driving me to work every morning, and that just a lot of them really are happy that you've acknowledged the fact that they're another human being, and it makes me feel good. I find when I'm nice or just open with people when I'm waiting in line at the grocery store, that they just seem a little bit happier at the end of the day.
What do you think, Mimi? Is that true?
That's been my experience. Where I come from, people are just generally nicer than they are in the city. So everyone waves when they're driving by each other. You know, they pass each other on the road, or if you don't even know anyone in the store, they greet you, they say hello to you. So I definitely think that if you're nice to someone, the behavior is contagious.
You think so too, Peter?
I would agree with that. It's funny, the other day I was at my son's baseball game, and I saw this, the bottles and wrappers, and they're all over the ground, and I said, gee, this looks terrible. So I decided to pick some of it up, and next thing I saw, other people started doing the same thing. So when you do something positive, I think it does catch on to other people.
That's great. I think that's all the time we have for today. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Real TV. Bob Faw reports on a movement to teach good manners in the schools.
In American classrooms, the issue is not can children be taught to think, it's can they be taught to be good.
We are responsible.
In Dayton, Ohio, students recite an oath about goodness. In Albuquerque, they sing about what it means. The movement to teach kids right from wrong, to bring civility back to the classroom, is sweeping the country. Now it's part of the curriculum in one of every 5 public schools. Kids in 34 states are now competing, writing essays about kindness.
There's a line Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a man, or woman, I'll add, in mind and not morals, is to educate a menace to society.
Something's needed. The Josephson Institute of Ethics recently found 65% of high school students admitted cheating on exams. Nearly 1 in 3 admitted they'd stolen something.
A lot of kids aren't getting it at home. They aren't getting it in other settings, so I think it is important to have in this school.
It's a movement parents applaud and assist.
A child with a bright mind and no sense of being a decent human being never reaches their full potential.
The word of the week is resourcefulness.
When students demonstrate resourcefulness or caring, they're rewarded. Role models come to perform and to remind.
Never, ever lie.
There's no question that programs like this catch kids' attention. The question is, do they change the way children think and act?
They do, says Red Rock Elementary in Gallup, New Mexico.
I've seen less discipline referrals in my office since we've started this program.
Why? Just ask Robin Saget's 4th grade class in Albuquerque.
I always used to fight with my brother, but now I never do.
Because of what you've learned here?
Yes.
Some skeptical educators complain the programs are superficial.
You don't have any particular answers to give to the child when she asks, why should I do this?
Experts also agree that teaching goodness goes only so far.
If we want our children to be kind and thoughtful and considerate, then we're going to need to behave that way ourselves.
For now, though, a lot of kids do seem to be getting it.
When I came here, it started making me better.
It helped everybody out.
Will this work? Will they be good? I don't know, said one teacher, but I do know we can't afford not to try. Bob Fall, NBC News, Albuquerque.
Unit 2. Giving an opinion. The passive voice. Points of view.
I would tend to concur with Linda.
I think I share your concern.
I mean, that's my understanding. I'm not an expert.
There are no easy answers.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks. Wow, it's great to get out on a weeknight. Who told you about this place? You were right. It is romantic. Uh-oh. What's up? Is there something on your mind?
Well, it's about Kevin. I had a conference with Mrs. Apple about him. She called this morning.
What's wrong?
Well, for one thing, he missed handing in a couple of homework assignments.
Well, that doesn't sound like Kevin. You said for one thing. What else?
Well, she says he got into a fight with a kid in the playground yesterday afternoon, and they actually had to break it up.
Well, that doesn't sound so serious. When I was a kid, I always got into one scrap or another. It's not like we're talking about a juvenile delinquent.
Well, I don't know.
Look, honey, at least he's not a wimp. It's good to see that the kid can stand up for himself.
That's not the way she put it. She said the fight had definitely been started by Kevin. And she says he started hanging out with the older kids, the cool kids, whenever he can. She sees this as a change in behavior that we need to know about.
Oh, well, that doesn't sound so great.
Mrs. Apple thinks there's a connection between the fighting and hanging out with the older kids. She says kids confuse older with tougher. Sort of a macho thing, I guess. And Mrs. Apple asked about TV and movies.
That again. She probably thinks that violent movies make violent kids. Give me a break.
Well, as a matter of fact, she does think kids are influenced by violence. And she's got a master's degree in psychology. And you know, I agree. I think it wouldn't hurt to exercise a little more control.
Spare me, Margaret. Look, we had this discussion before. Movies are just pretend. Heck, look at the westerns we watched when we were kids. We turned out okay. It's just a teenage thing.
Well, I don't want to make a big thing about it, but I do think his behavior is a red flag.
Well, it's probably surprise you, but I agree it wouldn't hurt to limit him a little bit and see if that helps. If for nothing else, maybe he'll spend more time on his homework. But for now, let's not waste the evening. Let's try to make the most of it.
Thanks, honey. I married the right guy. I'm gonna have to fish.
Panel discussion.
Let's talk about the environment. There are lots of news reports these days about threats to the environment. Linda, what do you think is the greatest single threat to our world today?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think there are lots of threats to the environment, and I would think pollution in all forms, polluted water, polluted air, is the biggest threat.
Okay, how about you, Mimi? What would you think is the biggest threat to the environment these days?
I would tend to concur with Linda. I believe that poor water quality, poor air quality is a major threat. They cause so many health problems with individuals, such as like asthma, respiratory infections, etc.
Do you agree, Peter?
I agree with a lot of that, and the only thing I'd add is that my concern about the world is the loss of the rainforests. You know, you hear so much about all these potential medicines that could be derived from the rainforest that we haven't discovered that could cure so many of the ailments of the world. So it's a real concern.
And I understand the rainforests are very important to the ecology of the whole world, that there's a balance. I'm very concerned about the rainforest, too, for a number of reasons.
Well, I think I share your concern, and I guess what comes to mind is how can we as individuals do something about something as big as rainforest loss. What do you think?
I think it helps not to eat a lot of meat. And this is just my personal view. I think creating meat for people to eat does a lot of environmental damage. First of all, in South America, the rainforests are cut down, so there will be room for the cattle to graze. I mean, that's my understanding. I'm not an expert. And to create 1 pound of meat takes enormous resources. I think it would help if people would eat lower down on the food chain. I think that would help things too.
Peter, do you agree?
I agree very much with what Linda just said. I think that in particular the United States and other more advanced countries have to set examples for the rest of the world. We have to play a bigger role.
Actually, I think we probably present the worst example possible. If I understand correctly, Americans use far more resources per person than almost anybody else in the world.
I'm amazed at how much trash my husband and I generate. Just 2 people.
It's hard to be an example to the rest of the world if we use up these, like you said, resources and pollute the air. And, you know, how can we be examples to the rest of the world if we're worse in a lot of ways?
There are no easy answers.
Exactly.
No, it's a very difficult problem, but it's something that people have to think about and do what they can, because it's not just us we're affecting. We have to think of the future generations and what kind of future there is going to be for our grandchildren.
Well, that's great. This has been very interesting. Thank you for sharing your views.
Thank you.
Real TV. Don Reese reports on a demonstration by the environmental group Earth First.
Before sunrise, members of the radical environmental group Earth First gather to plot strategy.
Let's plug in our love, our spirit, the force, you know, the Earth First.
They call themselves ecological warriors, and they're fighting to stop loggers in Oregon's Willamette National Forest.
No cuts! No cuts!
Why don't you go back to wherever you came from?
And you guys are making it a real problem for us to make a living.
You are under arrest.
Over a dozen protesters have been arrested, charged with disorderly conduct. But demonstrators continue to block the path of loggers any way they can.
This is American National Forest! We yield no more! Earth First!
Claiming its legal right to cut timber, a logging company continues its work despite the protest.
We don't want big confrontation. We're just in here to get the timber that we need, that we're legally allowed to have.
Demonstrators are not giving up, hoping for a court injunction today that would save the trees, hoping for a victory in their radical environmental war. Don Reese for NBC News, Portland.
Unit 3. Giving an opinion and confirming location. Might and tag questions. Food preparation.
I love good foods. I like to eat meat,
Rare
particularly
steak.
rare.
Rare? Mom, I'm so glad you could come over early.
Oh, you wanted pumpkin pie, didn't you?
Ooh, it looks delicious.
Well, I spent hours baking.
This is from that new bakery right next to the dry cleaners, isn't it?
Yes, it's a little bit expensive, but I've heard their pies are out of this world. Okay, now, what needs to be done before John's parents get here?
Everything. Well, John's at the store right now picking up potatoes and green beans. Well, I think we should get this turkey in the oven, shouldn't we?
You haven't started the turkey yet? Well, at least it's defrosted. What time did you plan on eating?
I thought we might eat around 3.
Better make it 6. This turkey will never be done by 3.
Oh no, my first Thanksgiving dinner and I've ruined it already?
Now take it easy, I'll help.
I'm back. Hi, Marie, how are you?
John. I'm fine. Let's see what's in the bag. Dear, this might not be enough for 5 people.
Oh, John, what are we going to do now? Your parents will be here in a half an hour.
Who could that be? Mom, Dad, you're early.
Happy Thanksgiving! The traffic wasn't as bad as we'd anticipated, so we made very good time.
Your mother thought you might need a few things.
Oh, thanks, Mom.
Sally, you shouldn't have brought all this.
Hi, Sally. Happy Thanksgiving. Well, Susan, I still remember my first Thanksgiving dinner for Arthur's parents. I just thought there might be one or two things that John forgot to get at the store. Well, let's get cooking.
Now, Susan, you know how to do the turkey, don't you? You just brush it with some oil and roast it at 300 degrees for about 5 or 6 hours.
Let me show you how to do the green bean casserole. It's easy.
Susan, this food is delicious. I never knew you were such a gourmet cook.
And she only needed a little help from us.
Panel discussion.
Health is a subject that seems to be on everybody's minds these days. There have been numerous cases of contamination of foods during commercial preparation in restaurants and in fast food places.
I'm very cautious about eating meat out, and if I do, I ask them to cook it well. And as for washing hands, I think that's very important, not so much for contamination of food. I suppose if you're preparing food, it's very important to wash your hands if you're dealing with raw fish or raw meat, to make sure that as the cook that you're keeping very clean. Right. But also, I think there's a lot of self-contamination. You can pick up germs from surfaces in public places, and I think one of the most important things you can do to avoid disease is to wash your hands regularly.
I have heard about a product lately that you can buy in the drugstore that's just like some sort of a cream or whatever that you put on your hands, and they say you should use it when you use the phone, when you have a cold. Put it on the phone, wash your hands with it periodically because you deal in public places and you shake people's hands. What do you think about that, Henry?
Well, I have heard that one of the ways that we get colds is through the eyes.
Huh.
I don't know what to make of that, but
I've heard that too.
You've heard it too?
Yes,
okay.
yeah, and the nose. You touch, you pick up a germ from someone, and then you wipe your nose or you touch your eye, and that's how you get infected.
From the telephone. I try to wash my hands, but then again, if I do that too much, my hands start to crack. You know, basically, I try not to think too much about these things because it worries me too much.
Right.
And I love to go out to eat. I love good foods. I like to eat meat,
Rare
particularly
steak?
rare.
Rare?
Not very rare, but rare enough. And I must say, as I've been listening to you talk about this, I would rather not know as much about it as I already do. And I wish you wouldn't talk about it anymore because I'm not going to enjoy my next meal.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because the next question is, can somebody be too obsessed about it? And my grandmother used to believe that, you know, we've reached a stage where we're so pristine and so super clean about everything that it's really not a good thing. It's almost as if you don't build up any kind of immunity. What do you think?
I really haven't thought about it in those terms before. I think that I tend to approach colds and things like that more from the point of view of strengthening my own immune system, more so than from the idea of trying to avoid contact. And that the stronger your immune system is, the less likely you are going to be to be affected by what it is that you're exposed to through normal life.
Yeah. I think I like Henry's approach. I think we should just not think about it too much. We wash our hands and be careful.
I think it's important. Wash your hands.
My mother says take vitamins and get enough sleep. My mother-in-law chases you around with the Lysol spray.
Very interesting.
There is a happy medium.
I think there's a happy medium, definitely.
Good. Well, you gave me a good out. Thank you very much for your thoughts on this subject.
Real TV. Robert Bazell explores the question, are antibacterial soaps necessary?
This is the arsenal where Amy Geller buys the weapons for her war on germs. Germs, bacteria, microorganisms she believes threaten her family. When she shops, she wants products labeled antibacterial.
It's more peace of mind. If it says antibacterial, I know that, okay, I'm killing the bacteria.
Many Americans share Amy Geller's concern. Images of Salmonella E. coli, even the deadly Ebola virus in Africa, fuel the fear. In the past year, more than 150 new antibacterial products appeared. It is not just soaps and cleansers. There are sponges, pet products, even toys, often marketed to play on fears of infection.
But are we suddenly facing a new array of infection danger? Are there deadly new organisms in our environment? Are infection rates up? The answer is simply no.
Dr. Laura Fisher is an infectious disease specialist.
I think there's just too much hype, too much marketing now.
Many consumers gladly pay extra for the products. Most are more expensive, but do they even work? For soaps, the answer is they do, but they are rarely necessary.
They have a role in the operating room, on hospital floors, in caring for patients. There is really no need for them in your home, in my home.
So what do we need to protect ourselves?
You need hot water, you need soap.
Unit 4. Confirming information and expressing surprise at a change. Comparisons with as and used to. Living and working environments.
People should feel at ease. I think that's the main key. Feeling at ease, feeling relaxed, feeling at home where you are.
I'm home. Why so glum?
Jim, we're gonna have to move.
What?
We have to move. They're selling the building.
Selling?
Yeah. Actually, it's already been sold. They're making it into condos, and the new owner wants our apartment for himself.
Well, they can't just throw us out. Just like that. I can't believe it. We've been here for 5 years. Don't we have some kind of protection?
Only till our lease is up, and that's in 3 months. And they sent a letter saying that they wouldn't renew. We don't have a leg to stand on. Here, have a look for yourself.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Give me a hand with this, would you?
Well, it's a pain in the neck, but it's not the end of the world. We'll just have to start looking. You know, there's a nice apartment building over on 4th. Location's good, close to all the theaters and shopping and stuff like that.
Jim, we don't have to stay in town, do we?
I know you don't care all that much for the city, but I don't want to have to commute. I wouldn't have half as much time as I do with you and the kids now.
I'm so sick of the city. It's such a rat race. I just want to get as far from the city as I can. Anyway, you used to live in the suburbs, didn't you?
Used to, but I hated it. I like being near downtown, where all the action is.
Yeah, I know you do. But there's another thing. What about the kids? Wouldn't it be great if they could walk out the front door and ride their bikes wherever they want? Don't you think that would be great?
Well...
Not only that. For the price of a 3-bedroom apartment in town, we could have a 4- or 5-bedroom house in the burbs. It makes sense. I think we owe it to ourselves to at least look.
Here's something you might like. In Riverton. It's not that big, but it's got loads of charm. Have a look. 4 bedrooms, central air, fenced yard, eat-in kitchen, formal dining room. I've seen it. It has a beautiful front lawn, too. And I happen to know that the asking price is very negotiable.
But how far is it from the station? I'm really dreading the commute. Right now, it only takes me 20 minutes door to door. What kind of time are we talking about from Riverton?
Well, the train takes anywhere from 40 to 52 minutes, depending on whether it's local or express. And let me see. The house is in South Place. That's not far from the station.
Well, what kind of condition is it in? I'm not exactly handy, and we can't afford to remodel a house. We don't want to buy any handyman special.
Actually, the house is in great shape. The owners love to entertain, so it's got a great kitchen, as good as it gets. Everything's top of the line. Microwave, trash compactor, instant hot water, you name it. And it has a new coat of paint. They thought it would net them a higher selling price.
What kind of heating does it have?
Let me see. Oil.
Well, at least that's good. Oil's not as expensive as electric.
Would you like me to run you over there to take a look? My car's right outside.
Okay.
You know, Jim, that fourth bedroom's going to come in handy.
Sarah, what do we need another bedroom for? You planning on having your parents move in with us?
Not exactly, but I'm pretty sure we're going to want it for a new little member of the family.
What? Sarah? Are you telling me what I think you're telling me?
Mm-hmm.
Panel discussion.
All right, now here's an interesting topic for us to talk about, work environments. Okay? Experts show strong links between the work environment and how effectively we do our work or our jobs. How do you think that your work environment can help or hinder you in doing a job?
I think people should be friendly, of course, nice, friendly atmosphere, but at the same time, not being on each other's face all the time, because that can get on the way sometimes.
So interpersonal relationships are very important.
I think are very important. I think
Courteousness.
people should feel at ease. I think that's the main key.
People talk about office space. Is color important? Is the space that you have important? Is the light that you get in your work area? Do you think those things affect, the way people work, whether they do a good job or a bad one?
Yes, I think that the work environment certainly would affect people's sense of well-being. I've worked in environments where there was a sense of everything being closed in, little plastic cubicles and all with glass, so that you were always, people were looking through the windows at you. It was no private space. Mm-hmm. Whereas I've worked in other environments that were much more open and spacious and airy, and it was more of an atmosphere of like a family,
yeah,
more of or a team type of a feeling, mm-hmm, which I think is really has a very positive effect on how well you do your job.
Mm-hmm. Henry, what do you think is the ideal work environment?
Well, I have been thinking about this as I have been listening to the other two. Mm-hmm. I work in several different work environments. So 2 of them I work by myself, and 2 of them I work with a lot of other people. The people are very important to me in the larger environments. But the most important thing to me is the quality and the temperature of the air. In one of the offices in which I work, the air quality is very poor. The room is too warm, and the office is stuffy. So you feel, I don't know, you just feel awful. And a lot of times, if I'm there for 1 or 2 hours, I'm falling asleep at my desk, even though the work sometimes is interesting.
Right.
So I have to go out for oxygen breaks, right, go out to get air, to kind of get myself going again.
I sort of had that problem myself, and I had to add 3 ionizers, and that pretty much took care of the problem.
What's an ionizer?
It purifies.
It cleans the air?
It cleans the air, in a way. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, you're going to say something.
That's not a bad idea.
No.
Maybe I will suggest it.
Sure.
What about color? For example, we're sitting here in this studio, and there's this sort of deep, cerulean blue color behind us. What kind of color do you think is useful in a work environment?
I think blue is actually, bright colors, I think, work pretty well. Mm-hmm. I think blue is a nice, refreshing color.
I agree with you, actually. Maybe not this intense, but certainly blue.
Yeah.
Tom?
I like more primary colors rather than pastel. Blue in a primary color, something that has energy to it and bright, whether it's blue or other colors, that's stimulating because you're working, you're paying attention. Whereas sometimes muted colors or very pastels in that are more perhaps relaxing, but they're they're not as stimulating.
So maybe it really depends on the kind of work you do or the environment that you're in.
That's true.
I think it depends completely.
What do you think?
The music studio has walls that are bright red, bright green, bright blue, purple, and one wall is one color and another wall is a different color. And yes, you look surprised, but you know it works very well. It's quite comfortable.
Light, color, space, congeniality, the ability to be with other people and get along well even though you're working together are all important elements. Great. Very interesting. Thanks for all those tips. I learned a lot.
Real TV. Betty Rolland reports on telecommuting.
Every morning, Susan Dovelman, a computer programmer, goes to work at Merrill Lynch. But 2 days a week, the office she goes to is next to her bedroom.
I just roll out of bed, put on a pair of jeans, no makeup, no drive to the office.
Susan is a telecommuter and part of an employment revolution, which started small a decade ago. Today, according to a new study, 11 million Americans, most of them information workers, now telecommute, and that number is expected to grow. But unlike the early years, telecommuters now split their time between home and office, working from home an average of 19 hours a week. And telecommuting is not only about motherhood. Today, as many men do it as women. They want flexible hours, too.
I'm not a morning person. To be able to know that I can give my best by being able to start my workday at 10 a.m. and finish at 7 offers a lot to the quality of the work that I do.
Unit 5. Suggesting a course of action. The present unreal conditional. Honesty and dishonesty.
I always try to be honest, and I think my instinct is to be honest. I hope I'm never put to a terrible test.
Morning, Steve.
Hey, Carol. What did you do this weekend?
Well, let me think. Paul and I played tennis on Saturday, and yesterday we just stayed in and did chores around the house. And you?
Well, my brother fixed me up with a friend of his from work on Friday. We went out for dinner and then caught a movie. We had a nice time, but nothing really special.
Hi, you guys. Hey, Pam. How's it going?
Okay, but I wouldn't want to be the person who left the office open all weekend. Mr. Johnson came in early this morning and found the door unlocked. He's fuming.
Oh, no. Was anything taken?
Not that they found so far, but still, anyone could have walked right in.
Wow. Do they have any idea who it was? Who was the last one to leave on Friday?
Well, it was probably Luke. He usually closes up.
Luke? Who's Luke?
You know, the new receptionist. Poor kid. I hope he doesn't get fired over this.
Well, I heard he's already messed up some phone messages, and I happen to know he's come in late a few times. This will probably be the last straw.
Boy, it's a good thing nothing was stolen, and someone could have taken the computers, the printers, the copiers, who knows what else.
Yeah, well, if I were Mr. Johnson, I wouldn't be too hard on whoever did it. I'm sure it wasn't deliberate. Yeah. Carol, can I tell you something?
Sure, Steve. What is it?
I think I was the one who left the door open.
Whoa, Steve, are you sure?
Well, I stayed a little late on Friday. There was some work I needed to finish up. Luke definitely left before I did. I got busy with some stuff, and then I remembered the date. I was so worried about being late for my date, I didn't even think about locking the door. I better go tell Johnson right away. I don't want someone else to get fired on my account.
Well, if I were you, I'd wait till it cools down a little. You know what a short fuse Johnson has. Maybe you won't have to tell him at all. It's possible he won't blame Luke anyway.
But what if Luke tells him I was here when he left? And I did have to sign out in the lobby. Suppose he finds out I was the last to go. I don't want to... Then I'd really be up a creek.
Good point. Maybe you'd better tell him. I'm sure he'll respect you for that.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Panel discussion.
Today's topic is honesty. There's been a lot of discussion lately about
what is perceived as a drop in values. And I'd like to ask you, Tom, do you think that people today are basically honest or basically dishonest?
I mean, relative to the past?
Yeah.
I don't think human nature has changed a whole lot. I think we just hear about it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how would you categorize us now? Would you say that people are basically honest or dishonest?
I think that most people have essential moral values, but I think that circumstantially, that when people are faced with situations where they could lose something or have something tremendous to gain by being dishonest in degrees, that human nature tends to want to, fudge the truth a little bit when it's beneficent to do so.
What do you think, Linda?
I think there are times when you prefer not to tell the whole truth. Saying what's really on your mind is not very nice. So to keep the surface smooth, to make things easier, you maybe fudge a little, tell a little white lie. Someone says, "What do you think of my new tie?" "Oh, it looks very nice on you." When actually you think, "God, why did he pick out that tie?"
How about you, Tom? Do you have some concrete examples of how honesty can make a situation better or perhaps make it worse?
One of the environments where we really have a lot of experience with human behavior is on our jobs. And I know that there are several individuals that I work with that have helped to really solve complicated problems where there have been conflicting self-interests and all sorts of political things going on. And it was one individual in particular who, because of the fact that she was very open and honest about things and was really interested in finding out what was true and what would make things work, that really influenced the whole situation, where pretty soon everybody was behaving that way because of the fact that she set a very powerful precedent for that type of behavior.
That's interesting. Have you experienced something similar to that, Linda, that you might relate?
But I was listening to him and thinking how important that is for someone to come out and say maybe what other people don't want to hear, or to say something that is against the accepted practice in the office, to come out and present a new point of view and not be afraid to do it.
We've talked a lot about theory. Adrian, could you relate an event where someone did something that was honest towards you?
Sure. It was about three and a half years ago. I was in a trip, and I actually happened to leave my credit card next to a cashier, and someone else, actually no one from the place that I was, no one from the store actually, but it was someone else who found the credit card, and they immediately called the company of my bank, and I had a call from the bank actually next day, leaving a message saying that someone had found my credit card. Even before I had noticed that had actually happened, and it was really surprising, and I was very happy, of course.
Yeah. How about you, Linda?
I can't think of anything. I'm sure it has happened to me. I was so caught up in Adrian's story, it kind of restores my faith in human nature to hear stories like that. And I always try to be honest, and I think my instinct is to be honest. I hope I'm never put to a terrible test. If I found a lot of money, I would return it. I know I would.
How about you, Tom?
The only thing I can think of is that when I was in school, at university, I lived in a town that everybody was very friendly and neighborly and trusted each other. And we never locked our house where we lived. As a matter of fact, we didn't even have a key. And we would go away on breaks for 2 weeks at a time and leave all of our belongings and stereo equipment in an open house and never thought twice about it. That seems like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you've said some very thought-provoking things. Thank you for joining us today.
Real TV. Vicky Vargas reports on a family that proves that honesty is the best policy.
Pauline and Tom Nichter are the first to admit their luck is changing. For the next 6 months, this one-bedroom apartment, including utilities, will be theirs, a gift from a Good Samaritan.
Thank you. You don't know how much this means to my family.
It all began when the family found this wallet, passport, and $2,400 in cash at a local toy store. They turned it in. The loot belonged to a tourist who said thanks, then left.
The temptation's there, but we just couldn't keep it.
What was it about the story that got to you?
Their honesty. I couldn't stand it. Just their total honesty.
The Buena Park Police Department has collected more than $4,000 in cash, and there are hundreds more unopened letters from across the country.
We had a woman that said that she had foregoed her lunch for 63 cents and sent that in.
They were teasing me at school, and they were going, "You should have kept the money." I go, "No, it's not my money."
Jason has learned a valuable lesson at a young age. In the meantime, his parents have taught others there is nothing wrong with doing the right thing. Vicki Vargas, NBC News, Buena Park, California.
Just like a miracle.
Unit 6. Asking about someone's identity and offering an explanation. Embedded questions. Culture shock.
I want to talk about culture, but in this particular instance, it's culture in relationship to travel. In other words, you like to travel, you go to a different country, and you feel like a fish out of water.
Where'd you come from?
I don't know. I don't know where I am.
What's the matter? You got amnesia?
Amnesia? I don't know what that is.
You got any ID, hon?
ID? What's ID?
You know, identification, driver's license, credit card, ATM card, something like that?
I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's start over. How'd you get here?
I don't know. I was just about to give my wife this bow for her birthday. There was thunder and lightning. Then, all of a sudden, I was here. With you. I don't know what's going on.
You don't look too good, buddy. Are you sick? Do you need the restroom?
Restroom? Is there a room for resting here? Actually, that might be a good idea.
No, a restroom. You know, a bathroom.
Bathroom? I don't need a bath. I need to get back home, to San Jose. Do you know the way?
This is San Jose, hon.
Do you know the way to San Jose?
It is?
Come on, Bobby, this guy needs help.
What is this place?
What do you mean, what is this place? This is the mall. The food court.
What's a mall food court?
You gotta be kidding. I don't know, this guy seems sick or something. I'm a little worried about him. Why don't you stay here? I'll go call in. Get him something to eat.
Yeah, good idea. So, you hungry?
Well, yes, I guess I could use something to eat.
Yeah, maybe some food will make you feel better. So, what do you have?
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'll be your server today. Ready to order?
Well, have you decided?
Fiesta plate. I don't know what any of this is.
Let's see. How about a hot dog?
Dog? They serve dog here? I couldn't eat a dog.
No, it's not a dog. It's a hot dog. Oh, never mind. Just bring us 2 deluxe cheeseburgers, well done, and 2 Cokes.
Sure thing. I'll be right back with your orders.
What's wrong?
The date on this thing.
What?
Well, the year.
What about it?
It says 2000. It's not 2000, it's 1900, isn't it? What's going on?
Mister, you need help.
What's that thing?
A cell phone.
A cell phone? May I?
Well, Janet, Chief's on the way. Where's the guy?
I don't know. There was this flash and he just disappeared. Boy, is this guy ready for the loony bin. You know what he said? He said it was 1900.
1900?
Yeah.
Takes all kinds.
Yeah. My phone. The guy must have swiped it.
Panel discussion.
Okay. I want to talk about culture, but in this particular instance, it's culture in relationship to travel. In other words, you like to travel, you go to a different country, and you feel like a fish out of water. Have you ever had an experience like that, Tom?
I went to Asia back in the early 70s, and specifically to Japan on a tour. And I felt very, very comfortable in the whole, culture of Japan. So much so that I realized that had I stayed there for a longer period of time, that I could have assimilated, I think, rather quickly.
What was it about the culture that just...
I don't know. It was just some things give you a feeling of familiarity, of being familiar, and there was just so much about the culture and that felt familiar to me. Felt very much at home.
Mm-hmm. Good. Now, Adrian, I understand that you're from Mexico,
yeah, that's
but you now live in the United States.
That's correct.
What was that transition like for you? How did you feel when you came here?
It wasn't too bad. It was, I think, easy in one way. I actually had already experienced life in Europe. I lived almost 2 years in Europe. So going to America was more like going home after being in Europe. Being in Europe actually was a little bit more foreign to me than being here in the United States, for whatever reason.
And did you find that people were helpful to you or not?
It was not too hard for me to meet people, and I did get the opportunity of meeting local people and as well as foreign people, and it made it really easy for me to make that transition.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I think it was fascinating what Tom was saying before about when he visited other countries and learned, understood what the culture is about. I think it's a shame that so many of us Americans, when we go abroad to like these exotic vacations, you stay in the resort and you don't really go out and venture out to experience the customs and the traditions of the people who live there. And there's such a big world out there that we can learn so much about, and too many people just go there and they want to lie by the swimming pool or whatever, and
it depends on your mindset, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also to be very accepting of the circumstances, and that makes it easier for you and for the others to break the ice, and you can actually get a lot from that experience.
Now, Peter, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
You were born in the United States,
yes,
but you visited China.
Yes,
what was that experience like? What did you...
Well, I actually visited, I've never been to the mainland, but I have been to Taiwan and other Asian countries like Thailand, Singapore, and it was I think I almost felt like a going home type, even though wasn't born there and I've never been to those places. It was almost like going home and feeling like this is really home. It was the people were very friendly, and my Chinese ability to speak Chinese was limited before, but then I learned a lot more as I was there, and I think I learned a lot more about my culture.
So it's nice, the interaction of different cultures and traveling and then meeting people here. Thank you very much for your thoughts on the subject. Very interesting.
Real TV. Ann Garrels and Roger Axtell discuss cultural differences.
If you're planning a trip abroad, be it for business or pleasure, chances are you'll want to put your best foot forward rather than in your mouth. That's not always the easiest thing to do, considering all the cultural differences there are to keep track of. You might want to consult a book like Do's and Taboos Around the World, which the Parker Pen Company has just put out. Roger Axtell, the vice president of Parker, served as compiler and editor of the guide. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where were you when I needed you?
Well, I've made all the mistakes that you can make, I'm sure.
Well, what were the most embarrassing ones you've made? Make me feel better.
Well, it isn't difficult to find them. I was in Saudi Arabia the very first time, and I was walking down the street. We were visiting pen shops, and my host, who was a Saudi, as we walked along, he reached over and he took my hand and walked down the street hand in hand. Now, for an American, that's a bit of a shock. Now, I, of course, pulled away, which was the rudest thing you can do. I learned later that, of course, it's a great sign of admiration and respect to hold your hand like that. Let's move to Latin America. I was in Latin America, and, of course, the abrazo, you know, the embrace. Now, we Americans are not body touchers. And all these embraces, and the worst part is you don't know which way to go. And I broke my nose one time hitting someone right in the middle. And then in China, I was chosen to give a toast. Now, toasts are very important at these big banquets. And the American group that I was with said, let's do it in Chinese, and so learn it phonetically. So I spent 2 days learning this phonetically, and I stood up, and what I was supposed to say in English is, thank you very much for this lovely dinner. I've eaten so much, I have to loosen my belt. Well, now think for a minute how many ways you could follow that up, but I went through it. I found out later that what I said was, thank you very much for this lovely dinner. The girth of thy donkey's saddle is loose.
Unit 7. Expressing irritation and drawing conclusions. Must, can't, and should. Vacations.
It definitely is discouraging because you do spend so much money and take so much time to plan a vacation, and then to have something go wrong just really does kind of bring your mood down a little bit.
What a wonderful vacation this has been. The beaches were beautiful, weren't they? All that clean white sand. And the weather couldn't have been better.
I would have preferred a little more golf myself, but I must admit, it was nice relaxing on the beach for a change.
My sister said this theater is great. I'm sure we can get tickets if we just get there early enough.
Well, we've got to find it first. What exit are we supposed to take?
Okay, let's see. It says take I-75 to exit 55 Fletcher Road. Oh, Rick, I think we just passed that exit.
Oh, no, you're right. Oh, well, we'll just get off at this exit and find our way from here.
Why don't we just stop and ask for directions? Look, there's a gas station right off the exit.
Why stop? We should be able to figure this out ourselves. Which way were we supposed to go on Fletcher?
It doesn't say which direction. It just says turn left.
That must mean west. So let's take this road west. That's strange. Isn't the theater in Marysville? I just saw a sign that said Marysville East.
I think we'd better go that way. Don't you?
Yeah. Let me make a U-turn here. Okay, this should do it. What's the name of the street that the theater is on?
Fowler. It's the Drama Club at 375 North Fowler Avenue.
Okay, you watch for Fowler Avenue.
Oh, wait, is that it? No, that's Foster. Keep going.
I think I see it. Yes, there it is. North Fowler Avenue. Uh-oh. But look at those numbers.
16, 24, 32. Oh, we must be pretty far from the theater. At least we're going in the right direction. Oh no, Rick, look! Road construction! Detour half mile.
Well, let's just follow the signs and hope for the best. Oh, good, we're back on Fowler now. See, that wasn't so bad.
But look at the addresses. These numbers are way too high. This can't be right. We must have passed it.
That figures. Leave it to your sister to give us directions to a place that no one can get to.
Leave my sister out of it. It's getting late. We really should